Documentary man logangia mapat dakwa dolo doge documentary news Bright Line TV.
Thank you very much, our viewer. You're most welcome to Bright Line TV. My name is Charlton. Today we are in Gulu City, Bama Hotel, where a regional dialogues meeting for the parish development model is going on. It's organized by a REIT, that is advocate for Richards in development and an organization.
Today, as you may already be aware, a REIT in partnership with the Northern Uganda Civil Society Organizations on Governance, that is called NUSOG in short, have organized a regional dialogue. A regional dialogue that aims to come together, create a platform for, with this, government has really made a lot of effort. And it's almost 8 months down the road since PDM was launched by His Excellency the President in February. So 8 months down the road, we want to reflect now. How are we moving? As civil society organizations that support government, we thought we needed to create this engagement, this platform, so that we can reflect on the steps we are taking to realize the dreams and shine in the PDM. So for that, we organized this half-day dialogue to try and deliberate. We've targeted specifically and deliberately the implementers at the end point of PDM, the district and sub-county officials.
It's a great honor to join you for the dialogue to get us thinking and asking questions and getting answers about the parish development model. But so that I give you a little line beyond just my official opening, while I was in Gulu, we were putting the final pieces on how we can get the parish development model started. I am lucky and privileged that within the few persons who got the first-class information from the technical team that conceived the ideas, I was among them. And I probably know a little much more than many other people know about the parish development model. First, and the basic questions you need to ask yourself, if you want to understand the parish development model well, where is the idea coming from? Ask yourself, where is this idea of the parish development model coming from? I can tell you that by 2006, the idea was already conceived. It was already set, ready for engagement. But many of us are starting to hear of the idea of the parish development model just yesterday. But I need to tell you that the planners, the persons who saw the trajectory of our country, where we were headed, sat way before 2006 and conceived the idea that time will come when our population will be threatened in terms of, one, this 39% of the population, meaning 4 in approximation out of 10 people, are doing nothing. And these ones who are doing nothing do a lot of trying their luck. And in attempt to try their luck, they become a source of insecurity to the rest. Overall, the people who steal you, the people who beat you in the head, the people who are trying to take up arms against the government, are persons who find themselves thinking we are almost as good as useless. And government went ahead to think for this category of people that if we want to avoid the country getting into a state of insecurity, we need to conceptualize a plan that can cater for, bring on board this 39% of the population into productive engagements. And for that to be done, government agreed and conceived the idea that implementation of government programs, implementations, because parish-based planning has been going on way before. But now we need to go a little level to start implementation. I can tell you there was a very heated debate at cabinet. Must it go to parish or it should go to village? But we are in a democratic society. You know my landlordship, Chief Justice Alphonse Owindola and his team were saying, let's go to the village and take the implementation to village. But in a democratic society, when the parish took it, it was agreed and conceived, let's start gradually from the parish. Maybe with time, we'll be going back to the village.
Nice to be here. As Ugandans usually say, all protocol is observed. So they are safe. So that then we can have more time to delve into the specific matters. My name is Julius Kapwepwe. I brought us this far. Today I'm mainly required to do two things. One is to represent the national coordinator for the parish development model, Honorable Dennis Garabuzi, who many of you have interacted with, whether in his former ministerial capacity or later on in other assignments of government for this country, but also greetings from Jobrin Karisa, who is the Deputy National Coordinator PDM. Some of you were with her, I think this week in Moya and Pade Oagago, just this week, and Agago, and other places across the country. I think in the Karamoja area, and also in national service. So the second one then is for me to make highlights on where we are with the implementation of the DDM, of the parish development model. And I thank the earlier speakers because they have made my work easier. I have carried a whole circle of things here, and I hope within the 1 hour or less allotted to me, I'll be able to use it. And I'll say as such, one, you are the one in nearby George. What does it say? What does it read here? I am coming like a reference. It reads, securing your future. Our future. Your future. That could be a technical detail at the level of intellectual discussion. You could say your future, so me, I'm not in. But that is not the point. The point is secure your future, you and I, as Ugandans. At least when I look through this manifesto, which is a social contract, that the party then, when it was asking for mandate of Ugandans, and Ugandans agreed that this shall be the social contract over the 5-year period, 2021-2025. And in this Bible, or in this Quran, I don't know which other religious group is there. I saw something in Western Bahar Gazelle in our neighbors here in the north. Some other religion I didn't understand. Africans, as Ugandans. But part of the elements that constitute the parish development model are rooted in some of you that have been old enough. In Cap 1, which was mainly to do with West Nile, some of that may recall, is rooted in piloting the parish revolving fund elements that were under the Ruero Ruenzori ministry, under the office of the Prime Minister. Is to do with the learning that has come from the Millennium Villages project. Some of you that may have that background, that was tried out not only in Sinjiro as an integrated approach of how can you accelerate socio-economic transformation, but also in Gomba, this current Gomba district, and some other districts in this country. Also to add that all that was also constituted in the will and the wish for some Ugandans at the backdrop of having, you could say arguably, theoretically and arguably, lost a bit of the financial muscle of the country with the going of then Uganda Commercial Bank into the hands of some companies which are not necessarily legitimate. Because if you can't have your own financial muscle, you are going to be in the middle of a lot of challenges. You can only have very nice plans and all this, but you don't have the financial muscle to actualize that wish or that ambition. Then it just remains on paper. And His Excellency President Museveni has been concerned that some sections of Uganda do not have financial muscle enough to be able to do some economic activities to help themselves into a better life, better livelihoods, and better lifestyle and well-being at the end of the day. So that's a bit of where we are coming from.
And you are to take the data, the statistic of this sub-region actually. Poverty, according to those who check some of this information, even Karamoja is doing better than us. We are 67.7. That is per region. That's how we are doing. And therefore, we believe that PDM is a vehicle that should try and work. And it really talked about all that we know. But again, there are crystal clear issues that really I think it's very important that as our friends with local government, those who are charged with policy making at the district, I'm seeing councillors here, I am seeing RDCs here, I am seeing our fellow partners. What are some of the things that you really feel we should take before we dive in that particular discussion? I will give you some 5 minutes to take on that.
My name is Liam Kumakech. I represented Gulu municipality then, which gave back Gulu city. I took the lead to vote for this city as the #1 member of parliament. So I take pride for having been the last member of parliament for Gulu municipality. But the voters rewarded me by saying you should not go back. So in that time, I have taken the opportunity to also do other things. Right now, I'm a consultant, governance in Kampala with Leandro Associates Limited. Our offices are just across Christ the King at Hotel Avenue, Plot 11. Chair, permit me to say that when PDM was evolving, we had a discussion in Parliament which attracted a very big debate, but did not have enough time to be exhausted. Now that was the greatest dilemma which we faced, and as the 10th Parliament was rolling to an end, is when the issue was brought on board. So we never exhausted it, and it was transitioned to the 11th Parliament. It was actually the cabinet that now tried to do justice to this, but also could not because there was no time. We needed to be in time to roll the budget. So for me, the dilemma started with the time. The conceptualization did not have enough timing because conceptualization required 1 year in terms of the dilemma that to raise. And for me, that is why we ended up with not sequencing the ideas. Because if we had sequenced the ideas, it would have meant, #1, activity would have been mindset change. That should have been priority #1 in the pillar. But when you look now, you find that in the pillar, the mindset is almost towards there. Possibly that explains why some of our friends are not here. Because to you have money, you must have ideas to generate money. I'm being told, it is very difficult for me to speak in a panel. I'm always used to lecture because I teach. So I will try my best. I'll sit down, come back, sit down, come back. Mine is about to have an idea that is mature, it should be shared across the country. That what is the basis of this idea? How can we cross-pollinate this idea? Because a model is a framework. Now, a framework means, for us in Acholi, we may have a greater take, like in Noya, like in Amuru, to engage on commercial farming as our core objective number one in the overall pillar for implementation. But now, others think, unless you have a circle, you should not be in PDM. There are those who are thinking like that. That's why the mindset change should be reviewed. For me, I was very happy with the RTC, with the work she's doing around the place. That is what we should be doing. So what is the gospel that should be preached in terms of the mindset change? So that we understand that parish development model is a framework that allows you, in terms of the conditions and the competence you have, what they call a capability approach, that actually should be applied in this thing, the capability approach. So that when you look at the poverty index, you look at inequality. Now, poverty alone has so many types. I was listing it here. Situational poverty, generational poverty. There are those who have generational poverty because still of the mindset problem. The absolute poverty, relative poverty, urban poverty, rural poverty. All these are types of poverty. Now, when you mix this poverty with inequalities that are horizontal and vertical, then you have a complex of a dilemma. This half day is actually a debate on where we move from where we are. And for this case, I would like to submit that PDM, the way it looks, I think, on my own perspective, I believe that we should actually be strengthening the governance and its management. We should not even call it administration. We should call it governance and management of the parish development model.
Thank you. I have got a vast experience from both the local government and the ministry. I worked in the ministry for about 8 years. Then finally I decided to come and retire from home as an economist, the district planner of Agago district. It is true, I have been in the forefront right from the inception when PDM government was introducing PDM in the local governments. As a person who worked in the ministry at a principal level, my work in the ministry was centered on issues of policies, centered on issues of policy development, policy dissemination, which I even went outside the country and actually had a lot on issues from outside the country on policy. Now, on the issue which I'm told to respond on, that are we going to, will the PDM, will we see the success of PDM after implementation? For me, I said yes. Parish development model, in the morning, a lengthy presentation was made by Julius, the technical officer from Ministry of Local Government. In that presentation, he had hinted on the success, how we are going to achieve implementation of parish development model. To me, we are going to succeed. We are already on the success. We have seen the achievement that we have already made. Because one, parish development model is anchored on the constitutions of Uganda under Article 176. So the legal framework to implement the parish development model is in the constitution of Uganda. Secondly, when you look at the policy, we have, if you link the policy of Uganda, the policy framework or the policy planning framework of Uganda, that is the National Development Plan, and you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 goals of the United Nations, Goal number 1 is linked to objective of the National Development Plan, number 1, and also linked to the parish development model, number 1. The model, pillar number 1 of the parish development model is about production, value addition, marketing, that is production and productivity. So, if the policy is linked in terms of national planning for the objectives and then the pillar number 7, that means we are going to succeed in terms of implementation of the parish development model, the 7 pillars. Another thing that we can look at if you want to see the implementation of these models a success is the institutions that we have. The institutions at the moment, right from Parliament and then the Cabinet and other institutions, the policy institutions, are all supporting implementation of parish development model. You have just had my colleague, Honorable Leandro, was talking about when he was in Parliament. The initiative came when he was in Parliament. So that means Parliament is actually behind implementation of parish development model. Now, looking at other organogram, other structure, operational structure, if you look at the highest policy committee at the moment is the National Policy Committee, which is chaired by His Excellency, the President. That is at the highest level. Now, when you come to at the level of the technical working groups, all the 7 pillars have got the structure, the committees, with responsibilities to deliver parish development model. They report to the National Policy Committee, which is chaired by the President. And their report is taken to Cabinet, then Cabinet to Parliament. There's a secretariat where Julius comes from. Although that secretariat, we need to review it. The secretariat seems it doesn't know the functions or the mandate they have been created to do. They seem to be having too much powers, which will again derail the implementation of the parish development model.
That is part of the prejudices that the youth continue to face within our country, and therefore the diagnosis of their problems becomes a challenge. When you say that the youth want quick fix, and the statement here saying youth have been and perhaps continue to be blamed for not being serious with development, but are bent on focusing on short-term gains. It is therefore unlikely that PDM will benefit them. Now, I want to first address the stereotype, the misconception that youth are bent on short-term gains or like quick fixes. I mean, here who wouldn't want to have a deal that goes through the moment you sit on a table with anybody? By a show of hands. Who wouldn't want that? So, who doesn't want a quick fix? Hands up. So, once you start labeling young people or the youth, that's where the problem begins, because you alienate, you discriminate, you push them away. And that will continue to be a challenge if we are not sensitive to these stereotypes. But I just wanted to address that, but I hear your question. Now let me address your question. At Uganda Youth Network, once we noticed that the government was hell-bent on ensuring that this program succeeds and was passionate about it, contributing to the improvement of the livelihoods and welfare of generally the country, which involves the youth, we took a strategic position to give government support at first with our partners like Oxfam. And we reduced all these guidelines that were coming from all over the place. Prime Minister's office issued almost 2 guidelines within the same month, away from the one of Fed. local government, secretariat. So we try to reduce these into a simplified version, but concentrating on pillar 3, which is financial inclusion. So we developed a user guide that hopes streamline and give clarity to the process of accessing these funds and what is required, who can access it, and how do you use it. And we've shared it. I've also shared it with Ben, since he has most of your contacts. Maybe we'll share it with you. Now we've also rolled it out, both in soft copy and in hard copies. We've given 500 hard copies to the National Youth Council to spread throughout their structures. We've also distributed some where we operate mostly within Kampala Metropolitan. We shall also be conducting, I'm happy to say, Madam Marasisi and Honorable here, a training of 50 youth leaders from Gulu here at the end of November. We'll also be doing the same training in Arua, and we are doing it in Kampala and Karido. So, and the focus will be on sensitizing the point that the planner was talking about, the youth about what PDM is. And our focus for us as a unit is on how to access these funds and how to utilize them and how not to get tempted to misuse them. Those will be the questions we shall try to address. The rest of the pillars, the technocrats and the district planners, I think will be able to deal with those. So before we dismiss the program or tag the youth as what we want to tag them, let's give the program an opportunity. There are these issues that are already arising. My hope is that the Secretariat and our leadership is really sensitive and mindful of these issues and will therefore make an attempt to try and rectify them.
To challenge the House. Right now we are talking about PDM. I need to thank Sari so much for bringing us for this debate. I want to inform the panelists, all of you, that we are already in PDM implementation. So, we are talking about the mindset change. But the way I look at it, I think all of us, or if not any, all of you, you also need to go through the same mindset change. Because if you already begin having doubting Thomas, the way I've heard all of you presenting, how are you going to succeed? Because the way we are not moving backward, we are moving forward. So what I was expecting out of you is, what can we do to make sure the PDM succeed? The way my technical person from Agago started elaborating. But toward the middle, he started doubting whether this will change. And it is upon all of us to ensure that we change the mind of our people.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Because it is very important here.
The public opinion on PDM is very clear. That PDM is near the top of the list of the national problems. Because of the highlighted problems. Some of the highlighted problems are coordinations, which Mr. Julius talked about, that it will be centralized to a specific coordinating office. 2, the problem of harassment and arrests being conducted countrywide. It looks like the government is using the blades of its own swords on its people. So the truth is, if you are arresting people on rumors that the money has been eaten, then how are we going to trust the people at the center if the money is delayed to be delivered at the sub-county? The PDM currently, to other people, they are in interpretation, is that PDM is becoming not the PDM which is meant by the president, but is becoming a problem development model. Grounds are there. The people in the villages where I come from specifically are not very sure of whether this money is going to come or whether it has come. Sometimes back they say it is 6 million out of the expected 100 million, and the groups in the villages are too many to share the 6 million. So I'm saying, from being the parish development model, others have termed it to be problem development model.
And please, I still request, let us just get to the point.
Yes,
don't
please.
spend more than 2 minutes on a question when asking. And please go for the one for now.
Oh my God, I have 3.
Go for one. Thank you.
I've already been given opportunity, so I also need to give it. Yes, my first question goes to Honorable Komakech. You gave us the background and history of where the conversations of the idea of the PDM started from. If I heard you well, you mentioned from the 10th Parliament, and you said that time limitations would have affected the conceptualization of this PDM. And I heard you very well mention that we are in a crisis because the time was very short. And to me, I know when by the time a problem becomes a crisis, it means it has reached a period where we cannot manage it, we cannot contain it, we cannot reverse it. So in your view, do you think, much as you consider it to be a crisis, it is something that we can readdress and get back online? Or do you think the model itself is not practical and therefore may not function here?
And when you look at everything that is happening, there are so many fronts or tires to social exclusion, especially for the young people, because I understand them more. When you look at the people they are calling youth have other challenges in them being youth. They are being heartbroken today, with teenage pregnancy, drug, alcohol abuse, peer pressure, with so many things that are happening. And now, instead of sitting and understanding what do the youth want, we are looking at agriculture, which has pigare, coffee, fish. Is this what the young people want? The youth are using the borders. We are talking about the poor ones. We are talking about borders, saloons, tailoring. Is there any way we are trying not to exclude them? Then how on earth are you getting a group when everybody in there is a subsistence farmer? Who is going to advise the other? I think when you're putting these groups together, we have to be sensitive. Put a young person. They are innovative. They are very creative. They come up with super ideas. Gender balance, is it balanced with gender? Are the women catered for? Women, by the way, are taking up PDA more than the men. Are the men being catered for? Then you make sure the social class, a rich one, a poor, who are they going to learn from? When they are all sitting, same problems, same setting, same everything. And then lastly, I think there has to be a lot of capacity building. Information sensitization, the PDM will work. I don't have much time, so I submit.
Thank you.
We have, then we are finished. Like someone said, that PDM is not a program on its own. But PDM, we are using it to implement the National Development Plan. It may not meet, it may not be ready, but we have already started. What do you do if you're already started? Should we abandon it? No. We have come here to paddle beat it. Where do we make amends? Where do we sow? People were arrested and people have gotten scared. But like someone said from Kitgu, these people are not arrested just for nothing. Something went wrong. City people know how we handled ours. But this issue of saying you call the people who came for the meeting and they pay that money, did I ask you to invite me? Julius, that is wrong. The community person, the wananchi, should not pay for your misinterpretation. But of course, I'm also happy that you are working towards making this right, so that the guidelines are right. Of course, we were there telling these people to pay the money, but actually some of them, you would see the money was used for data collection, the money was used for that, the money was used for this, but of course they touched wrongly. Why did you touch the revolving fund? And we shall continue. Let's join hands and love this program. Let's not be prophets of doom. It's already gone. Like the Bioga went, have gone to the communities. And actually people resent these programs because they don't have enough information. Thank you for handling that session. My brother from Agago, thank you for being here. Together, we shall deliver Uganda to that economy that we want. And with us believing in PDM, PDM will surely succeed. The God who brought you, take you back. My name is Jane Francis Amongi Okili, the RSC of Good City. I say all this for God and my country.
It's our viewer, and you're most welcome to Brightline TV. With me, I have Julius, who is the technical advisor at the Secretariat for PDM. And today we had a regional dialogues meeting for PDM. I want to hear your text. Julius, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much. My pleasure to be in northern Uganda, particularly in Gulu City.
Today we had a regional meeting for PDM, and people have different assumptions and different thought about PDM. What is your take about the regional meeting?
The meeting we've had today in Gulu City involving West Nile, Lango, Hacholi sub-regions, and Teso has been a very, very interesting one, where the different stakeholders, alongside representatives of the local governments and other interested people, have come together to have a reflection on how far we are with the implementation of the parish development model in Uganda largely, but also in this particular sub-regions highlighted. We thank God this far that challenges notwithstanding, there has been a level of success when you look at the parish chiefs infrastructure, the parish revolving funds that are now available for community members at the parish level. Really, you can imagine billions of shillings across the country for Ugandans' access. With the guidelines and a few issues remaining, there can only be a bright future in this country. A number of challenges and shortcomings have been highlighted, which is good feedback from the communities, because they are the actual people that deal with the very intended communities as we reach out to the 39% as the targeted subsisting people, so that everyone in this country can come into the money economy, as His Excellency President Museveni has promised the people of Uganda. This far, we are moving well. There are challenges to deal with. They are not insurmountable. Certainly, in the next round, we can only see that many other good things are going to happen as we continue ironing out the recurrent issues as have been highlighted.
It is now 8 months since PDM has been launched, and according to your thinking, do you think PDM is moving in the right track?
To the extent that PDM has provided an opportunity for different stakeholders to interface with the government about the PDM, give pieces of advice and lessons, to the extent really that tractors are being rolled out across the country, whether in Teso or Wenzori or Bukedi sub-region, and production is beginning to happen, to the extent that consciously the district urban community access roads are getting increased funding. When you look at the financial year budget proposals for next year and even for this current year, you can only have hope. There are challenges, but the youth out there, the women, the men, please don't be left behind. There are also, of course, other government programs that we need to keep an eye on. As a people of Uganda, this is our money, but the parish development model is providing such an opportunity for Uganda to demonstrate that it can, we have this production and productivity capacity to provide food to ourselves and to nations, to make money. you know, this is our country, the God-given country, the good fertile soil is grown, as our motto says, really, and our national anthem. This is the time to continue in that protracted struggle for the liberation of our own people out of the yoke of poverty, but also the African people at large, rather than running to Europe and many other places for job seeking. There are many other opportunities we have encountered through the parish development model, where we can make money here in our country at home and cause prosperity at individual and household levels, but also expand the national gross domestic product.
Lastly, there are ongoing arrests of civil servants, and they are living in fear. What message do you have for the local community who are the last beneficiary?
There is a paradox that there is fear over PDM funds and other PDM interventions. The law in Uganda is very clear. You simply need to be disciplined enough not to be confronted against the way of the law. The Inspectorate of Government, the PDM Secretariat, the Ministry of Local Government, the Uganda Police, the Operation Wealth Creation, ISO and RDC structures are there to support monitoring of government programs so that the local mwananchi, you and I, can be able to partake what His Excellency President Museveni has promised to the people. Anyone who comes in the path of reaching out the intended recipients of government support is bound to have problems, as has happened in some of the cases. Even so, there are many government officials who are moving with their head high because they have managed whichever government resources ably and in a prudent manner. That is all that is expected of any one of us at any one time, because already for some of the districts where there could be some confusion in some local governments, there are a number of local governments across the country that are moving on so well. So be counted amongst those that are performing better rather than those that are having mischievous actions, because the mischievous actions are definitely not sustainable.
The regional dialogue meeting for PDM has been organized by ARIT, and I have a Ben who works for ARIT, and we would like to know from him why they have organized this meeting. Ben, you're most welcome to Brightline TV.
Thank you so much, Charlton. The reason ARIT has organized this regional dialogue, it arose from the concern that I think everybody agrees with the fact that parish development model, the much talked about government, development framework, seems to be getting stuck. And what is getting popular about parish development model is you hear money has been eaten, or somebody has been arrested. Arrest is in Kitgum, arrest in these places. And yet this is so far the only blueprint government seems to rely on most to transform the lives of the people. And seeing, as policy advocates, ARIT and the partners decided that, look, we need to start a conversation. What is going on? Where is the challenges? Where are the challenges exactly? And what needs to be done? What opportunities can we explore? Because evidently, technocrats have a lot of fear now. Those who should put parish development model on track to the community in the field don't seem to be confident of their roles or what they should do. They raise issues to do with unclear guidelines. There's a lot of harassment from the central government when they come to the district or sub-counties. So looking at all these uncertainties, lack of clarity, we thought we need to bring the technocrats, central government, monitoring offices like the office of the RDC together so that we openly converge, have a conversation around this. Where is the problem? That is basically the reason. So we thought we needed to get things clear. The technocrats should talk out what difficulties are they finding that is making parish development model not to move the way it is intended. And then the response should be there. So we also decided to invite the head of secretariat for parish development model in the Ministry of Local Government. And technical advisor is here with us and has been giving a bit of some of the responses, and you've also heard.
So basically that's what we have, why we've decided to call this. So we have civil society organizations, we have the local government, technical staff, and also political leaders. And then the RDC selected from actually sub-region. And we're here having a conversation. You have heard a lot from different participants about the PDM. And what do you think can be done for PDM to sustain its goals? First of all, I think government needs to slow down a bit and be more realistic. Certain things cannot be done very fast. That is honestly, from even the conversation that we are hearing from both technical staff and even from the PDM secretariat representative that has come. We need to get down to make people understand the entire context of PDM, what is it for, and so that before money comes in, our concern has been that let the ideas first go forward, let people understand what the whole thing is all about. Let us put the institutional infrastructure in place before you bring money. Right now, money has come and money is being brought again, and people still don't seem to know what to do with this money. And borrowing may not start so soon. The revolving fund that is in the Paris circles for all the districts around the country may not start, the borrowing may not start immediately because the readiness is yet to be achieved. So we want sensitization, we recommend more sensitization, we engage more so that people get down and the right information get down to both the beneficiaries and implementers. Some people, some technical staff still don't seem to clearly understand what needs to be done. And then the technical glitches are also there. Issues of information gathering, for example, data collection. Not all the districts are endowed. There is poor network here and there. So we need to get those infrastructures in place. Where there are problems, we need to move. One of the challenges that I see with the parish development model is that it assumes universality. That the moment we start this, everybody should move together. We appreciate the idea of not leaving everybody behind. But given that we are not at equal footing, certain places don't have network completely, and yet they will be receiving funds. So what do? All those needs to be first corrected. And then other districts have not fully recruited the parish chiefs. The issue of transport is still not there. Parish Development Board definitely is a very great program, but I feel we need to go, and also government needs to listen to these concerns, not criticism, but concerns, genuine concerns that when responded to on time, it will put this great program right on track. Yes. And today we have been at Bama Hotel in the Gulu City, and you have heard a lot of things about the parish development model from different participants, and you have heard their texts on how PDM it is. Some are saying that the PDM is not yet known to the local community, and others are advocating that whenever you go, you need to preach about PDM. We have heard from Arit, from Liando Komake, the former member of parliament for Gulu municipality, who is now the Gulu city. And then we have heard also from different participants, the RDCs, the local leaders, and then the focal point person for the PDM in different districts. Some of them they are blaming the secretariat for participating or for coming to arrest them without finding the truth about the PDM. They were blaming different guidelines that were sent to them. That is what has been taking place today. Yeah, my name is Charlton, together with my cameraman Eddie in the Bama Hotel at Gulu City.